everybody's ready, we'll play ball.
Julie McDonald,
Here.
Hannah Bazinet,
Here.
Jim C.
Here.
Millie Schoonover,
Here.
Mike Kempnich,
Here.
Chanel McKinley, Timothy O'Connor.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyway. Consent agenda, we're moving on.
Mayor, I believe we only have one item on the agenda for discussion, and it's already in motion form,
Okay,
so it could be done by a voice vote.
let's do it by voice vote. Okay, has anybody got any questions on this? Or do we need to do hearing from the public or any of that legally?
We don't have any public.
Okay. Being no one's here, then we'll move on to the roadless rule. Anybody got questions on this? Did you see the maps that John sent out and everything?
Actually, that one letter from Cheryl Buffalo, that's kind of public comment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know where all the roads, where the wildernesses are and all that.
Oh my
business?
goodness.
It's all green. The big maps up there in John's office, but. So is there any?
Jim C. here, can I comment?
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
Okay, again, I'd like to reiterate a couple of things that I said last time, that the maps don't, John mentions it, but the maps don't really show there's nothing gonna happen to any of the LUD twos by eliminating the roadless rule. We're still gonna have Baker Noise and Lulu stay pristine. There's two giant areas in the middle of Prince of Wales, and I can't think of the numbers. They're on the middle of the map there. Michael would probably know better than I what those little numbers are. I can hardly read them without my glasses anyway, and I don't have my glasses at the moment. John's map upstairs actually shows the LUD 2 areas way better than any of these maps do. I think John did a good job, but I wish he had incorporated that one map he has in his office also. Again, I'm in a position for responsible logging. I don't want to see any more of those leaf strip logging things, just like currently the lawsuit has that new sale blocked over at Staney, and I agree with that until they do something major. But for the federal government to just come in and say, technically, I guess it's not, but they're supposed to be defending this for us, but I'm sure the Biden administration isn't, so I don't know that we're gonna do a lot of good here anyway by getting into this, but reiterate again that the fish have come and gone, even though the area of Staney Creek and the horrible logging over at Hollis, those streams have produced multiple years in a row of good humpy runs, and now something has happened to kill off the humpies. And it has nothing to do with the logging at this point. It did for a while, there's no doubt, but they did come back, and now they're gone again. And Lord only knows why. I do want to respond to Cheryl Pickle's letter. It's a very well-written letter, and I agree with parts of things that what she says for certain, but I am for backing this one more time because I think that with the new administration, if this mill gets to log at all anymore, other than they're going to continue to log, they're going to do a lot of logging on the state land, and I would like to see them have people.
Thank you, Jim. That's a pretty good outline of the whole thing, and I agree with pretty much what you've said 100%. That we need to revamp these rules so that they can't destroy those stream side buffer zones and those set aside areas that we had left for wildlife before. I mean, I was currently last year cutting some of those and screaming the whole time I was doing it, and I found wolf dens in them, embedding areas and deer and everything else. And then they cut all that down and left nothing but young clear cuts to where nothing could survive in there. So the Forest Service needs to revamp what they're doing, and the state can't be allowed to run rampant either. That's what we need to work on, but the roadless rules curtail so much more stuff that I believe we need to stay in our position on it and say that, look, yeah, let's fix some of the problems, but to throw the baby out with the bathwater is kind of stupid. And that's where I stand on it. So anybody else, Mike?
I still will say that I think that we went far enough and we don't need to be supporting this. I think there's a lot of things we can do in the community with $5,000 that, are in community's interest. We've done a great job at improving our trails here recently, and I've heard, a lot of positive comments on that. I'd rather see $5,000 go to something like that, that's benefiting our community and our citizens, rather than something that, my opinion, and I think there's a lot of evidence of it, is clearly detrimental to our lifestyle here anymore. It's having an impact. And I just struggle with supporting, going forward with that.
Can we support it without contributing the money?
We already did, right?
We already have supported it. And
In the past, but this time.
it's being challenged again, and they're trying to overthrow it in the course at this time. And they're going to be lobbying back there to keep them from overthrowing us, reversing the roadless rule. And with the current administration, it's very possible they may do that.
Yeah, but can we join as a plaintiff supporting without contributing the money?
We could, but it would be very supportive of Sullivan as our lobbyist. That's the only problem I have with that, is that we're not supporting him, and he's one of the loudest voices we have back there. The only voice we really have.
And what exactly does the money do? Legal fees or?
It just supports his lobbying for Craig's interest. He's a lobbyist in DC, and he
Yeah, no, I
represents-
know that, but like, is it paying for his time, paying for attorneys, paying?
his time and efforts to represent us on this position especially.
Yeah, it is for the attorney fees, Julie. I don't think that they would consider as much of an intervener if we didn't put money down too. You got to remember, we're going to lose. Not only we've already lost the multiple 100+ jobs of the Alaska timber. Now we're talking about dumping the other 80-some direct jobs that are at the local mill. So even though I'm against some of those logging practices and I want to see us get those cleaned up, I think that's the reason to support that. We spend lots of money on trails and stuff to begin with, and if you want to do more of a break-even thing, I would help find another piece of money by doing a raffle for the trails. But I think it's important that we put some money where our mouth is on this, or it's not going to do any good.
Yeah, I was recently involved in a same situation with the Alaska Trollers Association, and all the trollers had to ante up money to represent us in court as an intervener. And we had to pay an attorney out of Astoria down there, which is an environmentalist attorney. He's fought for the Sierra Club and for everyone else, but he knew the circuit through the system. And that was why we supported this guy going to bat for us, because he knew how to negotiate through the court system on environmental issues. And the thing is here, this guy knows how to represent us and whatever he's representing the industry and several businesses here on the island as well as other places. And if we, we have to support someone that's going to bat for us. It's just like paying your attorney. And I feel the same way. I've contributed my time to clearing trails and fallen hazard trees and everything else. And I don't get paid for that. And it's just part of doing your stuff, whatever. So I feel that I can contribute to this through us putting up that money to show that we are interveners, to prove it. So that's just my opinion. Millie, what do you think?
I'm not. I don't want to support it.
Okay, that's fine. That's your choice.
Okay.
Well,
I'd like to hear more. If you have more to share.
Well, for the same reasons that Mike had mentioned. Gosh, I just feel there's been so much damage done in the past. I don't know how long it's going to be before we have logging on the island again, but it's going to be the new growth, and I'm hoping that they have better practices than they had in the past. But I just feel like we're throwing money away. I'm not happy with the whole, some of it needs to be reworded. My gut just tells me no.
what is your opinion on what Sealaska just done?
Oh, Lord.
What I thought.
Yep.
So this leaves us in a tough position. Because if we're gonna keep the 80 jobs that Jim was talking about going, we have to do something. We have to do it more responsibly and take care of stuff. But I've cut Sealaska's land and I've seen wholesale slaughter. I've seen 2/3 of what they cut stay on the ground to get left, wasted. And, I don't condone that practice at all. And I haven't seen that on Forest Service sales. They're a little bit more responsible, but them going into these zones that were left, like Jim was talking about, where he hunted and Mike's hunted, was ridiculous. And I said that. I mean, I cut those. That needs to be stopped. And I told the Forest Service that in meetings, you guys are stupid. This is crazy. You left these things 30 years ago and now you're butchering them. Which, if they hadn't done that, then things would be a lot better. But that's where management comes in. We have to manage it better. But we can't build roads to mines because of this. And people say, oh yeah, you can. We'll go get a permit. Let's see how long it takes you. It's almost impossible.
So on that same note, Mr. Mayor, I don't know who was contacted at the city, but the tribe is trying to get all the key entities together to meet with Sealaska.
We've contacted them and we're in the process of arranging a meeting when John gets back from Seattle with Sealaska.
Okay,
We talked to
but
Anthony.
the tribe is trying to get everyone, so we're all at the table at the same time instead of individual entities.
I talked to
meeting.
Clinton about that also, and he said the same thing. And I don't know if anyone spoke to Ed yet, DeVille, but we need to get him involved. And I believe we should get Coakini in here too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody at once.
Yep, I
And if we're
agree.
gonna talk to these people, we need to all do it at once.
I agree.
Because we all have a common interest. And the more the merrier, even Haida Corp, get them all up here. I'd like to see Tony come up because he's very good at this.
Mhm.
So it's something that we need to look into. The meetings, you're looking at over a week away, so that gives us time to contact everyone, hopefully bring them into play. Yeah. And that kind of ties in with what's going on here too. I mean, it's all on this rock. I'm sorry, it is, that, you know, I don't wanna see these clear cuts, but I look up here at Sunhay and look how that timber's coming back and those strips that were left there where the deer come down into 62 pit today. The bears still roam up and down St. Nick, eating everybody's garbage and tearing up their crap. So they haven't left. They're okay. Those strips were left in there. They have thermal zones. If it's done correctly, it works. If it doesn't done right, we've all seen the results. It's not good. But I myself, and like I said, I don't make no bones about it. I believe the roadless rule is a farce. And it should have never been enacted. They should have just used better regulations to monitor things and enforce them.
The drawback to that is, you know, it's easy to blame the Forest Service, but in a way I defend the Forest Service because they're getting political pressure from the Ag Department and from the delegation. And so, like, right, we know the last 4 years, they have just been beaten mercifully,
Yes.
you know, that one sale, and then it got litigated. So I'm actually really sympathetic with the Forest Service. They're kind of caught in the middle on this. And you know, they're only doing what they're directed to do by and large. And with the administrative changes, they go in this direction, now they go in this direction. So I'm a little bit, you know, careful with.
I'm not blaming them. It's the political structure that caused the roadless rule. When it got enacted in the early 90s, I was working with it in Oregon and California for Erickson Air Crane when Bill Clinton went and pushed this through. And it was a payback to the Sierra Club for voting him in. This was totally political then, and it's still totally political today. It's not management.
Right, again, this is Jim C. again. You have to remember that part of the problem, the reason that they're cutting the lead strips between those timbers, those sales out of federal steel that were set up, like I said before, that was a 100-year logging plan that was completed in 30 years. They had other areas that were taken out of the rotation because of the roadless rule that caused those areas to be cut. That's a fact. And Mike's not going to impugn me on that because he knows it's a fact. That's part of the reason that went into those. We had to keep cutting those same stupid areas is because of the roadless rule. Otherwise, it would be more spread out.
You're right, Jim. I've seen the same thing in California and Oregon and Washington where they were forced to go into areas way sooner than they should have because they ran out of ground to go to, because they were locked up because of wildernesses, lead twos, and other areas that they couldn't go into. And then they switched to the roadless rule, which just added more lead to basically and more roadless. So it's like I said, it isn't the management problem, it's a political problem. And that's the way this has evolved, and it's been that way since the 90s when it was enacted. And it remains that problem today. It's all politics instead of management. Same thing with the wolf issue. I mean, everybody that knows anything about that knows it's a political issue and it has nothing to do with management. So.
Even if we do, you know, even if we do have more roads and we can go into some new areas, I think there's enough history to realize that long-term it's detrimental on habitat. And so basically we're just pushing it down the road. That's, you know, and I'm not anti-logging. It was, you know, just about a year ago right now, I sponsored a resolution that said we wanted to see the Forest Service begin to engage into young growth. And I would like to see us pick up and continue to push that with our delegation. I think that we know that's where we're gonna go. It's not gonna develop immediately. It's not like next year you can have 25 million being harvested. But there's no reason why we couldn't encourage the delegation to support one or more bills to begin working with young growth. It's gonna take experiment. It's gonna take time to figure out how to saw it, how to market it, what you can make with it. But we can be doing that at the 1 million, 2 million, 5 million board foot level right now, so that in another 5 to 10 years, when they know there will be the scale available, we're then more integrated and ready to do it. And that's the direction we really need to be going.
No, you're right. And I brought this up with Sealaska in a Powtech meeting up there with Sealaska and everybody was here. I says, you know, Sealaska needs to consider moving into second growth production and possibly building a mill or getting involved in getting one started to manage the second growth so that we can begin the transition into second growth. If that, you can show a profit there, then people will move that direction. They looked at me like they didn't have a clue what I was even talking about. It's like, you know, what the hell is this? Where did that come from? It's like, well, and that said it all right there to me when they looked at me like a whatever. They didn't understand a word what I said, yet that's what their business is. So it's like, I don't know what to think about something like that. And we've talked about this transition into second growth, and it needs to start happening now. Bo Rogers just had a harvester, mechanical harvester purchased and being built, and just had to call and cancel it. And they were harvesting second growth on Tuxacan. Sealaska had a market. Right now at this time, Alcan is doing it. They're logging second growth. But Bo had to call and cancel them building his Feller Buncher for the second growth because what happened? And that right there stopped a transition that was in progress.
That was, I'm kind of guessing here, it wasn't, if it was on Sealaska land, that was more around along like the export to China, and that was the trade tariff thing.
Well, the trade tariff thing is why Sealaska, I believe, probably just threw up their hands like they did and just said to hell with it, because they were hit with a 20% tariff on their logs, which priced their logs completely out of. And we have decks, I cut them of hemlock, an old growth hemlock sitting up there right now, they can't even get rid of. So, because the price is too high, because of the tariffs.
Right.
And yeah, that would have been resolved eventually, but at this point, I don't know what to say about that, but I don't know. I cannot back this roadless rule because I know it was politically motivated and it's been politically managed to this point for over 20 years, and it's ridiculous. And so that's just my opinion. Anything else, Jim?
No, I have a question. We don't have a full council tonight, is that correct?
We're missing Chanel and Jim C, but I think he's on the phone.
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Okay.
But pretty much without a full council and with what Mike has said and Millie has said, there's not even any sense in going to a vote as far as I'm concerned, so.
Well, we've got
They're
5.
gonna vote no. Well, it takes 4 to pass it. Doesn't
Oh.
matter, it's not a majority rule, it takes 4 to pass, so.
All right.
At this point, if they're gonna hold their ground, we're wasting their time and I'm gonna sign off.
That's true. That's very true. So without Chanel, we're kind of hogtied here.
Right, well, I mean, Julie may want to vote no also, or Anna, I don't know where they stand, but I just know the way we stand right now, even if they voted yes, it's a no vote, so it's not worth a whole bunch of more talk even as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
We can hash out new state regulations at some other point.
Okay. So
So do we want to vote next meeting when everybody's here, or?
we should table
The
this
state
then.
The state regulation thing is a whole different situation. We can't, he set it up because the guy wanted to know whether we were gonna be an intervener this week. He needed to know this week. He couldn't wait till the next meeting is why we had to do it this week. So, if we don't vote yes tonight, we're not gonna be an intervener. So it's not it is what it is.
I thought it was the 21st.
This is, I was the 18th, I believe, but,
Well, he needs time to write up paperwork, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. It's not something you do in 5 minutes. So that's why he wanted it tonight. That's why I talked with John. I was on the airplane.
Oh, okay. You got newer info than I.
yeah.
Yeah.
So should we table this then? That leaves it open till a later discussion, correct?
I think it,
It's
I don't
unnecessary.
know, if people are willing to table it again, at least we can discuss it with a full council, but I don't know because I don't know where anybody else stands. And we wouldn't know unless we voted, I guess, unless other people are willing to say.
Reporting the recommendation the council discussed. So if we vote on it and it's, let's just vote on it and,
Well, we already know.
That kills it forever, then.
oh, that kills it forever. Okay.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
back up.
only the people who win can bring it back up.
Okay,
so I'm a little bit unsure, is it, and we actually haven't, so we made a motion to table it. We've had discussion, but we haven't actually made a motion to reconsider it, so it's technically still tabled, is that correct?
right.
That's correct. We didn't make a motion yet.
Right.
I do believe I was working on the notes from the last meeting. And there was the motion to table, and then right after that to continue intervention until the next meeting.
Intervenor status until the next meeting,
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
Right, but we would have to renew the motion to untable it. I believe, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong there.
Does Brian know?
So, one thing, Sherry, if I understood correctly, or the interpretation I have from what you just said is we didn't make a motion, we didn't make a decision at the last meeting. But yet, your interpretation of the notes of the meeting is that we actually have presented ourselves as continuing down as an intervener,
Correct.
going forward from the last meeting?
It
Correct.
says on here, the motion to join as an intervener is already before the council, so no new motion is required prior to a discussion or vote on the question.
Right.
So that would technically,
indicate that the motion is already on the table.
say that again, please?
I think that would indicate that the
Yeah.
motion is already on the table.
Right, but I guess what I'm getting at, I might have misunderstood you, but it sounded like you were suggesting that that Mr. Silver would consider us as being an intervener until we voted otherwise. That's the impression I got from what you said.
That was the impression I got just until
No,
this next meeting.
I don't think so. I don't think that's correct.
no, he doesn't consider us an intervener until we vote in the affirmative.
I want to make that clear. That's what.
Right,
that's
but
what-
the motion was amended that it would be considered until then. So there was a motion and then the amendment to stay on that status. But I don't believe, I mean, he knows that they're waiting for your decisions.
So if we do the motion now, from what Jim is saying, I'm sure that's correct. I believe it too. It would go down because we don't have a forum. I want to be fair to all my peers. I can make the motion and enforce the issue, but I want to be fair. I think it is important to have 6 people when you make a critical decision and you have 2 different viewpoints. But if we don't make the decision and then, or one way or the other, regardless of what it is, in some ways, we're also not going to be the intervener anyways because the time frame. Right?
I was just gonna say, so I think maybe to help proceeding, if I'm understanding John's memo correctly, the motion is already on the table.
It is.
The motion was made and tabled, so this discussion started with the motion already on the table that at some point needs to be resolved. There are some options though, other than just voting on it, which include tabling it again or making an amendment to the motion, or just like any other motion, the person who made the motion and seconded the motion can likely withdraw the motion to end discussion. But there is a motion on on the table, and some resolution is likely the best course of action.
Can we get a hold of Chanel or is she out of town?
I don't know her number. Even if she could call in by phone, we'd have on council. See if we can get a hold of her.
I don't have her phone number. I don't think I just have message her.
Call Amy at the bar and see what it is.
The bar wasn't open when I drove by.
Uh-oh. You got Amy's number?
I'm sure they have her phone number here, don't they?
They should.
She just saw the messages.
No, I don't have it.
Just so you know.
What's the number?
For Chanel,
No, I'm sorry, for her to call in.
oh, for her to call in, 1-800-315-6338. And she enters 63275#.
36275.
Mhm.
You're on CTA form for this meeting? That's what I thought, but just making sure.
You were trying to put together a meeting of.
See, Alaska contacted Clinton,
Mhm.
and Clinton come to me and John a couple times and said that See Alaska wants to have a meeting to discuss what they can do to help us through their dropping out of the industry and moving forward. We're looking to lose 200 jobs if you start counting all the camp people and all the sort yards and
Secondary. I understand.
all your secondaries. You know,
Is that in Craig or Prince of Wales?
Prince of Wales.
Okay.
You're looking at 200 jobs to be
Yeah.
done. And you're gonna see a severe impact on sales tax in the city, rentals, blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, they wanna have a meeting and see what we can do. Now, I have some ideas that I've run by John. We'll have to discuss that at some other time, but,
But I'm wondering if See Alaska is contacting everyone or if they think Clinton's gonna do it, because he's got a heavy duty schedule.
well, yeah, they contacted us. Now, I don't know if they've contacted anyone else.
Okay,
If they haven't, that's something that we need to do.
right.
Some of us could do that. I can have, when John gets back, have him start contacting Tony and Joaquin and Mary. He was talking to Mary the other day and
Oh, good.
some other people. He was talking about this issue too, because we have some ideas that we're gonna run by everybody, but some way, a form of compensating the tribe and us and you and everybody else and try to make up for some of these lost jobs. You're not
Did I
gonna,
give the right number?
that's not the right number, Tracy?
So did I give 315-6338?
Well, Brian, when I called in, there was a number missing on the code, remember?
Yeah, I forgot to put the 6 in front, on the front of your code.
Is she gonna try to call in?
She said she was, yeah.
I'd like to get this resolved one way or the other, but we can't do it with a short council.
So it's not valid.
Can you read it again?
1-800-315-6338,
Mhm.
and then the code 36275 #.
632.
Oh, 63275
Pound.
There we go.
That's the problem.
We are a small community. We aren't tech savvy completely.
Touch of dyslexia there.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I don't even know what to present or even offer up. You know, we're trying to debate that, and we all need to have a meeting before we have a meeting. Would be advisable,
Mhm.
so that if we're gonna be standing on common ground, going after,
Right, I agree.
we know where we're going. So that's something we may wanna kick around the council and everybody else. So. And that's something we need to start in on next week. I'll probably start in on a Monday, start making some phone calls, try to get people involved. Tony can do a little research. I know he'll be a lot of help. Mary should be a lot of help.
Mhm.
I haven't dealt with Mary a whole lot, but Representative Joaquin,
Very straight to work with.
yeah, John said she was. I can't recall Mary, but right off the top of my head, I probably would if I seen her.
I don't know who the chair of OBK is.
It's not Richard anymore, is it? Who's the other guy? I can't think of his name. I can almost think of his Plinkett name, or Hyde name. I can't think of his name. Wears a hat all the time.
That describes half the people here.
No, he he made a cedar hat.
Oh,
And fedora. Is it Fred?
Fred, but he hasn't been here for a long time.
No, he's in Sitka. He got married in Sitka.
Oh, shoot. Well, I don't know who I'm talking about over there then. I don't know. Wouldn't take much to figure it out, but
Hi, is this Chanel?
Hey,
McKinley?
Chanel here.
Okay, thank you.
okay, Chanel, do you got anything to say on this roadless rule thing? Do you have any questions? Have you looked at the maps or anything?
I haven't looked at the maps yet, no.
Do you need to?
No,
Okay,
I no.
pretty set and your mind's made up what you want to do on it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Well, then we could go ahead and go for a vote and get this thing done. And if everybody's up with that, we'll table the question and go for a vote. Okay,
Okay.
you good with that, Jim?
I'm ready.
All right,
Is it roll
is this
call?
roll call vote?
Voice call.
I think because you have people on the line, it needs to be roll call.
Yeah.
Roll call, you're on the line. People are on the phone.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Okay.
That kid can't vote either.
She gets 2 votes.
Okay. Hannah Bazinet,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover,
No.
Mike Kempnich,
No,
Julie McDonald,
yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Jim C.
Yes.
I put the dinner on the oven.
Okay, motion's carried. Thanks, guys, for being patient and fighting this out. I hate to see stuff like this, but this is a pretty important situation here.
actually, this is good, because we're having a really good discussion here. It's important. So these kinds of things are good. It's always one way, everybody goes the same way, nobody's thinking.
I don't like that.
So
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. with
I
that.
love it when people oppose whatever it is we're discussing.
It's a good
I
discussion.
encourage that.
It's a
Yeah.
necessary discussion.
I do not want to see a bunch of sheep. I don't believe in that and I never want to see it.
Fine,
This
okay.
is probably one of the hardest decisions.
It is
It
very
is.
difficult.
It is hard.
And I'm sorry,
I
it
had a
is,
really hard time with.
Really hard time. after
It's difficult. I do too, because I see it the same way Mike does. I really do.
Yeah.
But I've also seen the damage that what I felt this has caused. And I mean, not just here, I've seen it everywhere.
I'm just more in favor of local management.
Me too. Exactly.
I am too, and this is where we're at on the wolf issue right now, the sea otter issue, and the whale issue, several things, is that we need local management, and we need management science. We don't need politics telling us how to do it.
Right, my background, I was in environmental science. That's my first major. I had a minor in wildlife ecology, and I worked as a field biologist for 2 years. So I am for conservation.
Oh, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
So, I mean, most of us are, I mean, but, yeah. You can beat this thing to death, but it's a tough deal. I'm glad it came out like it did, and I'm very glad we had opposition, because I encourage it, I really do.
Me too. I appreciate everybody's knowledge a lot.
No, I
Or
do,
making me think.
because it almost would make me vote right with you on the damn thing if I could vote.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can see other portions of this that I just can't live with. So, anyway, thank you guys, I appreciated it.
Is that all we have?
so we didn't need to do anything else.
Go home.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?